Okay, so let's hope it works. So right, so I have my slides here, and a clarifications. All these materials today will be in my GitHub. You can go to this Purple account and then type for d3js sharing sessions. So I'll post the link here just for if you guys wanted to take a look or fork it or something. So, but all the things will be like examples and the slide itself will be here. So if you click the slides D3 will be these slides, and then you have like all the other examples, right? So without further ado, let's get started. So D3, so I often get this a lot of people who like to use D3 as a data visualization tool. So what it means by data visualizations is you can just take a look at the official websites. So this is an example from the official websites. So it's not observable HQ, but then it's like a blog page where they publish their examples here. So D3 essentially give you like allows you to visualize all sort of data. Maybe like a map data, a scatter plot data, or maybe a chart, bar charts, any sort of data that can be used that can be written in D3. So if you are looking for data visualizations, as in like a sophisticated data visualization tools, D3 is definitely your first choice. So you can even see like they have like a force directed graph where you can see like all the to visualize your graph data. So and to be honest, this is quite easy to implement. It just D3 has all the built-in functions for you to listen up guys. So for you to get like these charts, most likely there's already a built-in function for that. So yeah, just to show about like how powerful it is to use these tools like that. And which is why I'm having these sharing sessions because I think it is good and to be honest, I use this often in my work life. That we use this tool to visualize a lot of kind of data. So yeah, what is d3js? So this is quoted from the official website. D3js is a JavaScript libraries. It is libraries for manipulating documents based on data. So what does it mean, right? It is just like your vanilla JavaScript. And if you look at like a comparison, right? So on the left, we have the vanilla JavaScript. So if you are not from the JavaScript background, don't worry because when you learn it, right, you'll come to these functions for the query selectors. So in vanilla JavaScript, you can access to the document objects to select the elements. So in D3JS, is the same. Is just like also one single function to select. So they have like a very common uh, there's like a similarity between vanilla JavaScript and D3JS. And just to recap, right, this if you look at the quoting from the document, the official website, it has nothing to do with data visualizations. It doesn't mention anything about visualization of data. So it is a libraries to manipulate documents. So if you are very familiar with jQuery, vanilla JavaScript, then going to the D3JS wouldn't be very hard for you because a lot of concepts are actually borrowed from these two things now, right? And what makes a difference is I mean if D3JS is just like vanilla JavaScript or jQuery, then why do we need jQuery? So we look at the same code. You have to stress on these three words, which is based on data. So D3JS is a library manipulating the documents, the DOM based on data, right? So it might seem a bit it might be a bit hard to understand what does mean by based on data, right? So let's see an example. I had written like I have written this, which is to let me spin out my server first. Right. So Okay. So I have like a make a very simple examples where you have like a normal HTML. Maybe I should do something like that. Right. So what I did for the HTML file is very simple. I just import the scripts, the libraries. I import the libraries, and then I have my index.js. So wait, I should do a bit more. Right. So the D3 right has a very familiar syntax as what we know as a builder class or builder design patterns. So if you are familiar with these design patterns, just to let you know, D3 follows a builder design patterns. So we have the D3 objects that is from the script file here, and then we select all, just like how we will do in vanilla JavaScript. We have like the query selectors or get elements by ID. So also the same for D3, where you have like a D3.select all. And then essentially, right, because it's a builder class, so this will returns the elements. So and I say like for all the elements, style it to become blues. So I'm going to comment the rest just to see what's the effect of this uh, of these functions. So as you can see, uh, it's find all the p tags, find all the p tags, and then style it with color blue. So this one right is actually accessing the attributes of the p tags. So if you look at the inspectors of this uh, index version now, you can see like it changed the style attributes of this p tags. So essentially, it says that select all the p and p tags and then give it and then give this style attributes a color a blue. So if we written in a CSS, right, there will be like color blue, just like this. So you can start to see like how it works for D3, right? So you select all and then you specify the attributes, just like this. And then so right now we didn't see having any kind of like data inside, right? So right now it is still just like a vanilla JavaScript. We can achieve exactly the same thing in vanilla JavaScript. So like we can write document select this all of the p text, and then we can say like the style right is equals to color blue. This is how we will write in the normal vanilla JavaScript way. But then D3 has like a very nice and cleaner syntax for you to write. And so we have seen like adding this. So what makes the difference between the data? So okay, so before going to do that, I'm going to also show you guys these examples where it's also the same, the color, but then this time instead of passing a string, we pass a callback functions. So if you're not familiar with JavaScript callback functions, essentially this function will be called uh, when they are like attaching the style attributes. So it returns a hue, and then if we save this, we look at the effects, you can see it goes different way. So this is a callback function. It will returns like a hue values with random numbers. So you can see if we refresh, you can see the difference. Okay. So now we see that we can directly attach a string to add a string as a value, or we can pass in the callback functions. All right. So let's go to the next one. So essentially, right, oh yeah, I have said the power of it is that you can edit dynamically as well. Although we can do the same in using vanilla JavaScript, that we can choose all p tags and then the style is equals to, we can do the same, right? That that we return like a color and then like this uh, plus this like this. Although we can do the same in vanilla JavaScript as well, but then D3 also offer this very nice syntax for you to write up. And you can also like change other attributes. Like maybe you want to change like a I don't know what else can we have like Anyway, what attributes do we have in p tags? Tags, maybe like a tags, right? So we can say like a tags, and then we can say attributes of href is equal to maybe google.com. So it also offers you like this kind of pattern syntax for you to write. So if you even if you're not just even if you're not using D3 for visualizations, D3 itself is also good enough for you to do all these like selections and stuff like that, right? So let's move on to the next one. You can see I also can pass it, right? So this callback function also accept two parameters, the data itself and the index. So I'm going to explain about the data later, but then you can see the index here, you can also get the index. So if we uncomment this, we can say like if the index is equal to 0, modulus 2 is equal to 0, then goes to the black one. Uh, is it true? No, it's the different way. So if it's equal to 0, then goes to the red one, right? Correct. So you can also like do all this conditional styling using D3. Okay, so now here comes the superpower. Remember just now I said that D3 uh, in the official website it has nothing to tell about like the visualizations and stuff. Like it only say it is a tool for you to manipulate the document based on the data. So right now we can add in the data. And you can see like add in like an array 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, and 42. So this is the data. And we have the same, which is the query selectors or p tags. So we can say we can also pipe the next function. We can say like for each of the data in the array, call these functions. Sorry, for each of the data in the array, use this. So it has you can have a text functions to say like so this is the text for the p text. So you can return like a functions and numbers and I first created. And also you can pipe to the next one, which is the style also. So can style the font size, which the font size is going to be adjusted based on this value. So let's save and look at the examples. And you can see like it changed. So just now, right? We have like paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. So now it changed to 4 and 8. Maybe it's 2, so 3. So it becomes 4 and 8. So it is the first two p tags. Why does the rest of the 4 didn't render? It's because we are selecting all the existing p tags in here. So you can see we have only 2 p tags, which is why it only render the first 2. But for each of the data in the array, it's going to call these two functions, which uh, it is going to accept callbacks. And the D here, if we console.log this, you'll be able to see is so if it logs out these two data from the array, right? So it's quite convenient. So right now we have all these things here, and we can so what if we want to like also render the rest, right? So if the and if there are only like two p tags, then add in more for me. Then how can we have those functionality in D3? Because if I want to have this data, right, to render, right, I have like the first solution for me. Maybe I can like copy this, copy 6 times, and to be honest, this is not a very good ideal solutions because one day you may have like a maybe 1,000 data points or 10,000 data points. Then you have to copy and paste 10,000 times. So we programmers are very lazy, right? So we have like a solution for this, which we can call these enter functions. Yeah. So right now, so right now it's quite weird, right? Because we only have two, and then we expect it to see like we have the rest of 4 also rendered. So it is quite weird. So how can we do that? We just need to call these enter functions, where it will do the same, right? The select all and then the data the same, and then we will have like a enter functions, which it will say is like okay, so the first it will enter this data, you enter this array into something we call a waiting loops, or it can visualize as a waiting loops. So it will say, okay, so we have a waiting loop, which is these 6 items, these 6 elements are waiting to be rendered. Okay, so it will first solve this first p text. So when the loops goes to the first one, oh, you'll call this three functions. And the first function is to append a p text. So I also quite curious about why it's called append, but yeah, essentially this is an API for us to do that. So I would say that for each data, make it a p text, and then for each p for after that, after you have created the p text, adjust the text and also add this style. So right now, if we save this, you will see like it render the rest as well. So let's go back to okay. So you can see like it also render the rest of for two, because these two functions will replace these two if exists, and then create if it doesn't exist, which is the sort of like the behavior that we want this to have, right? If it exists, these two just replace it. If it doesn't, then create one. So yeah, if you don't understand it, I mean, don't worry, because you can always research it after. So okay, so we have this data, and you can start to see how it comes, right? You just keep calling, keep piping out the functions one by one, and then slowly to build up all the behavior that you want. So right now, what if we want to update the data? Like we have already add this array, and maybe when the user do something like that, I want this data to be changed. So we can start to bind this data, start to update this data by simply do this. So we store all the elements that we selected. So you have the d3 dot select all like this, right? And then we store this array, and then we do the same also. We just like call this data again, this data function again, to override the previous data. So and then we enter it, we append it, exactly the same function as this, exactly the same, just copy and paste up essentially, just that my data changed. So now when we save it, and we shall see the changes. Oh, okay. Yeah. And now we see these changes. We have like a one two two one three four one three two and 142. So we have now added the data inside it, and essentially you can start to see the 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 way how we should do in the D3. So, but then we haven't talked about the visualization yet, right? So, what is this? What is this has to be do has to do with the data visualizations. All we did just now is just like adding the data, and then change, like call this function, call this text function, call this style functions, but we haven't actually rendered anything yet. So right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to comment these two lines, and comment this index. I'm going to switch to the simple chart. So what the D3 offers, what's so powerful about D3 is that with this simple way of writing, you can do the same for SVGs, because SVGs is also a HTML element. So if you don't know what is SVGs, I just Google SVGs, and then it's a simple vector graphics for it's in an XML based format. So if you haven't seen any kind of XVGs, uh, maybe I should show that examples of XVGs. Right. So if you haven't seen like any kind of XVGs before, you can. It's a very simple XVGs function. So essentially, XVG allows you to draw stuff on the web browsers. So we just call this like SVG tags, and then you have like maybe like a circle tags, and you have like a rectangle tags. So this is also an HTML elements. And by using the D3, we are able to select all these HTML elements. And this is where it actually comes in for the D3, the power of D3, is that we can manipulate the SVGs to fit into our need. So right now, the same is that we have like an array of data, and then we have like a bar height that we set. So it's the same API that we select all the SVGs, or just select one, sorry, we select the SVGs that I already have here. And then inside here, I will select all the rectangle. But there is no rectangle here, right? So where is the rectangle? Do I need to create a rectangle? No need, because we have, remember just now we talked about like we have to put like the enter, dot enters and dot append to replace if exists, create if not exists. So the behavior we want is that we want it to create if it doesn't exist. So this dot select all function had done that logic for you. Sorry, the dot enter function had done that logic for you. And then we have the select all, and then we input the data. After we input the data, we can enter the data, which append it to the waiting room. And then we say like for each data, okay, create an rectangle for it. And then the attributes for this rectangle is the value here. And then the height of it is 20 minus 1. And then also we can add in like an attribute or transformations and stuff like that to achieve like a very simple bar. So if you look at the elements, right, you can see it actually like created all the rectangle for you. And then the width of it is the same as the data. So you can start to see it coming that we adjust the attributes of width and then we just like for each of it, and then it will be we will be able to access the data in the callback functions, and then we just do any processing. Maybe I want maybe like a divide by 2, so we can do it in the callback functions. Then we will string it down. So 40, 60, 80, 120. So for every single visualizations that you see, so for every single visualizations that you see here, right here, they follows exactly the same way as what we wrote here. So we have the data, enter the data, we create like a HTML tag for it for each of the data. We adjust the attributes, and then we got the data out. So it's everything in SVGs. So in this website, this web page has like it's very good for you to explore how other people write it because it has like all the others example for you to do as well. So you can see like we have the SVGs, then we append the groups, and then we manipulate the SVGs uh, to, to, to append the data to join. So there are like a lot of others like this, but then at the end, it follows exactly the same way as how we write here. We call one function by one function to adjust it. So if you're familiar with design pattern, this is called a builder class. And essentially, right. So cool. And now you had like go through about how easy it looks like when we are writing D3 visualizations, right? So I can also like maybe show you next chapter. So in here, right, you can see like we have this kind of very cool kind of chart. If you use like other frameworks like maybe Chart.js or maybe any other kinds of libraries for data visualizations, you won't be able to create these kind of behaviors. So if you are thinking about flexibilities and customizabilities, D3 is the way to go because it allows you to do anything. It is just like the vanilla JavaScript. It allows you to do everything by yourself. But you might be thinking like, oh, okay, so what if I just want to have like a simple chart, but then I don't want to sacrifice my flexibilities. So good for you is that D3 has already like all the pre-built function that you can call to do this. So maybe let me look at examples like this. Source, yeah, source. Go to here. It's called it's an API. Right. So we can see like in the D3 itself, it has like a lot of built-in method for you to look at it. So you have like a scales. Scales is for say if you have like a data 1 to 10 and then you want to scale up to maybe a scale of 1 to 10,000. And then scale functions allows you to scale it easily. So, and then you have like any kind of other shapes. Um, a lot of all these pre-built functions that you can explore. So if you're thinking how we can look at it, right? I have actually made out like a repository as well. D3, so this repositories had like a record of what I learned in the course of a Udemy course essentially. So I took the note down and then I have curated all these things. So we can go to this layouts and then we just do have like a pie and donuts. So look at the JavaScript files and then you can see that it's a similar kind of syntax that we have the data, so we have like this, that, and then essentially we just call this define. There we go. This force. Yeah, force is a very good example. So the same, we have the data, and then we set like all this chart height, and then we can call this d3.force simulation. So what is a force layout is this d3 force layout like this. So force layout is like this. It is to visualize for graph data. So you can see like the network of each node, right? So this is essentially the code for it. But then the underhood code is also very simple because D3 has already a built-in functions for you to do. So just dot force simulations and force. So but then this force is a function for us to call in the SVGs. So we selected the SVGs and then we draw the lines, we draw the nodes. So the node is always simple. We just append the circles, have the adjust the radius attributes, and then adjust the fill colors. And then we have also the same, right, for each tick of the force, just adjust the attributes, adjust the attributes. So you can start to see the pattern for d3js. And what's next? Essentially, that's it. Surprise, because it is how easy it is to do for to use D3. So if you know vanilla JavaScript, you'll get used to these kind of syntax, kind of patterns very easily. Just adjust the attribute, adjust the attributes, adjust the attributes. So if you want to learn about D3, right, from my experience, you really have to know about SVGs. So you have to learn uh, about SVGs. And essentially, at the end, it is all about manipulating the documents as what is coded on the official website. It's a library for manipulating documents based on data. So you have to really learn about SVGs to achieve all these kind of visualizations, right? So I think that is the first barrier that you encountered for when you are learning D3. It's not about the library itself. It's more about the SVGs, the native HTML elements. So if you want to be good at D3, you have to be good in SVGs because D3 is very simple. They follow exactly the same. Just adjust this, adjust that, and then you have like the data, enter the data, and then create the elements and then adjust the attributes. So the hardest part is actually learning about the SVGs. But then if you already have a very good fundamentals of SVGs, learning D3 is will be quite easy for you and and will be very fast to pick up, right? So what's next? You can look at the official documents, the d3js.org, to learn more about what kind of features they have, and also I strongly recommend. To be clear, I'm not. This is not a paid advertisement, but then I strongly recommend this Udemy course. Uh, it's a 10 hours videos. It's not by me, of course, but then I learned it from here, and I find this very straightforward and just enough information for you to kickstart your D3 journey. Or if you prefer like a free resource, you can go for the free code kit. Surprisingly, they have this. They have everything. they'll teach you all the stuff that I said just now, that it'll walk you through, and then how can we do the visualizations and stuff like that. So you have free code camp can be a very good source for you if you're looking for free materials. And that's it. You have learned another new thing today. Congratulations. Uh, and I think this could end our the sharing sessions for the day. So do you guys have any questions? Okay, cool. Just nice. Then so if you have any kind of knowledge that we'd like to share as well, like to let us explore, right? No need to go to very deep, and you can just ping me, or you can ping Nick, and then you can start your sharing sessions, like maybe like this one, just like 20 minutes short talks, short sessions, just good enough for us to learn more. So because I do believe that I cannot cover everything in one single sessions, right? Because I learned it in like 10 hours, and other people might learn like maybe also 10 hours. So I believe uh, the purpose of the sharing session for me is more to exploring and let you know there is such things. And in future, if you want to achieve like similar kind of a goal, then you have this in mind. The first thing that comes to mind is D3, and you have just learned about D3 itself in a very short amount of time, like maybe 5 minutes for a free cocaine, but then I speak it into 20 minutes. So yeah, thank you everyone. The learning method, the learning resources is in the GitHub in my account. It's called Pupupet, and it's right here. So I think I have shared this link already. So if you want to learn more, or you want to recap us again, you can go to this repositories. Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. I will stop recording.